home stretch, the last video. Welcome to video number 13 of my 13-part video series of the 13 big mistakes that beginning saxophonists and experienced saxophonists are making that are preventing them from moving up to the next level or even getting started in the first place. Video number 13 is a big one. Not taking control of your own learning. I gave a hint about it of saying that I have a lot of people who come to seek me out when they realize that they're not breaking through the glass ceiling of playing the saxophone and decide to come and seek me out to help them move up to the next level. One of the critical mistakes all of them have made, and they're not actually happy with me, is this idea of not taking control of their own learning. I see myself as a saxophone coach. I'm not a parent. By that I'm meaning I don't want to chastise people as though they're children, that they have to practice or what's going on with their practicing, or insist on being a taskmaster against them. Because quite honestly, if you cannot have it in yourself to practice on a daily basis the saxophone and you're studying an instrument when you're an adult, don't study an instrument when you're an adult. There are better things you can do. Go and join your local soccer club, or go and join the walking soccer club, which is now available. Go and do something like painting, which is at least you can go back and come back. Go to an art class once a week. But don't take up a musical instrument if you're not prepared to go in and practice on a daily basis. And also don't take it up if you're not prepared to take control of your own learning. This is a very important point. Regardless of what's happening, nearly all the people I teach are adults. And one of the biggest mistakes I see being made is this idea that so-and-so said. I get this a lot. My teacher said. I have a number of people who have been playing for 5 years who sound terrible. I see strange things. For example, use of a metal mouthpiece on a beginner. Beginners should not use metal mouthpieces at all. You should use your standard mouthpiece which came with your saxophone for at least 6 months to 8 months until you actually understand. As you're playing with the standard mouthpiece, you can hear the difference between when you're playing a standard mouthpiece and when you're playing with a more expensive mouthpiece. But I see people using metal mouthpieces who shouldn't be doing so. Main reason being that they're not hearing the intonation properly and their playing sounds terrible. Many of them come with a story. My teacher said. I said to them, remove that, use this one. And actually they can hear the difference. It actually sounds better. Second big problem I have of not controlling your own learning is this issue that it is not my fault that I play badly. God help us. Here's something which I have to be very clear on you. The fact is, the teacher is there to assist you to move forward. The teacher is not there to take responsibility for your problems or mistakes. And don't get me wrong, I believe that as a saxophone coach, as a mentor to saxophonists, I am really there to help you to be as good as you can be. But you cannot now blame me if your playing is poor. I believe that very emphatically that if a student is not making progress, I stop working with them. Because I teach adults. So at the end of the day, if you're not making progress, if you're not serious enough, I direct you to someone else. The big problem, I think, and this is a big compromise that many music teachers make, and particularly saxophone teachers, is this idea that they allow people to get away with this idea that I don't have time or I am too busy. But they want to learn an instrument because they want to get money, because as I told you, most of the time, 95% of musicians are broke or worse. They insist on taking on people who have bad habits or are not prepared to do things. No, this is not what you want. Number one, you need to take control of your own learning. This means that if you've been playing for a certain period of time and you're not making progress, you need to ask the reason why. This is very important. I find it incomprehensible how I've seen one guy who goes to the same workshops with a particular couple. He's been playing with them for over 20 years. I'm not joking. 20 years he's been playing with a particular workshop, and his playing ain't improved one iota. His high range is still very much out of tune. He can hardly read the music proficiently. Yet he's been going to the same place for 20 years, and they have not corrected it. So this is a very real problem, that people are not taking control of their own learning. And as a result, it makes learning the saxophone very difficult, particularly as an adult. Here's one big myth. The myth is that it is easier to learn an instrument when you are a child than when you're an adult. This is simply not true. In fact, the problem with learning as a child is because a child's mind is open and they're accepting to ideas. It seems easier to learn, but only if they have the right teacher. How many of you know of children who cry up to the age of 2 or 3? And if you send them with one babysitter, they cry more than with another? So personality matters. So it's not that all children, if they're taught at a young age, will learn music quickly. No, if they're taught by the right teacher, and the right teacher is as rare as hen's teeth. This is true. The truth is that if you're with the right teacher at a young age, yes, you will learn. One of the biggest advantages of being an adult is you get to choose how you learn and who teaches you, to what level. One of the things I do, which many teachers do not do, is I sit down in the first lesson when I work with someone and I go through their goals of what they want to do to play the saxophone. I've included a sample of my goal sheet below, right? Complimentary for you to go through how to take control of your own saxophone learning. In this sheet, you will find interesting questions. Questions like, why am I starting the saxophone? What is my level of commitment towards playing the instrument? How many hours a day am I meant to devote to playing the instrument? What am I prepared to cut out completely in order for me to learn to play the saxophone? Because here's the fact, everybody's time poor. Everybody doesn't have enough time. In truth, we waste a lot of time. I believe so. For instance, you could avoid going to the pub at the end of a day and instead go to a practice room if you're in London to play the saxophone. This is true. I have some clients who go and find a practice studio close to where they are to go and play. Because, again, you work 9 to 5. You could look at some interesting ideas like finding out which is the part of your house which is farthest away from your neighbors. Even to radical ideas if you're serious about soundproofing a room so you can play the saxophone at any time. Now, these are not necessarily things which I necessarily recommend all of you do, but it is taking control of your own learning. More importantly, you need to understand this issue of making progress. And I believe very strongly in the idea that when you're playing the saxophone, you should be making progress across the board. For example, the first 2 years are going to sound bad, but in those first 2 years, you could be learning your piano, your music theory, your practical musicianship. All this stuff could be done. I find, and this is something which really bothers me, the majority of saxophone teachers out there are bone idle when it comes to teaching pupils. The idea is simply to take money off people and not really supply the full service required. Now, it is up to us how much we charge. I am not a cheap date by any means. That much I can tell you. I do not charge the standard price, and my way I price myself for saxophone lessons is not using the standard method. I think the standard method is insulting, which is per lesson. Because the fact is this, if you're going to learn an instrument, you don't want one lesson. You're going to have to have a series of lessons for you to get good. However, I believe that the way that others charge cheaply is false economy because they're not giving you the full picture. There's so many different things you need to learn when you're playing the saxophone, you know. And one of the big ones, obviously, is piano, practical musicianship and theory. And there's a third one, which I'll be giving you in a bonus video. But you must take control of your learning. Only you can decide whether you've learned enough or you've not learned enough. Only you can decide whether you're making progress or not on the instrument. This is critically important. The idea of subordinating this out to someone else is a problem because people do not make progress doing that. I find as well that teachers like the idea of people making slow progress. This is especially true of classical teachers and even jazz teachers. The reason why is because if you make rapid progress, you push the teacher. The teacher has to now dig deeper. A few years ago, I went and spent £5,500 to go and study with some leading saxophonists, and I found what they taught to be abominable. Many of them were deeply unhappy when I started to push them, to ask them that I wanted more from them. They would get annoyed. They'd start cursing me because they were not prepared to do the work. Understand that we're in a partnership here when you're working with a teacher. But you need to take control of your learning. This is especially true for those of you who decided to take my courses and go down the teach yourself route. You need to take control of your learning. You need to be very honest with you if it's not working. The majority of players I see who come to me are those who've gone down the self-learning route and really and truly have learned a whole load of things which are not true. And as a result of this, there's a problem. So as a result of this problem, I've realized that, good Lord, what are we going to do? That's because they've not taken control of their learning in the way they should do. Part of taking control of your learning is to realize when things are not working, when you're unable to play proficiently, when you've been playing for a long period of time and you're not really making progress. That is the key to being a great musician and a great individual when it comes to anything. So I thank you very much for going through the 13th part video series of the 13 big mistakes that beginning saxophonists and experienced saxophonists make that prevent them from moving up to the next level or even getting started. Look out for bonus video 14.